We have Ross Rice on the line right now. We often go to Ross as a retired FBI agent in situations like this to add a little bit of context, add a little bit of perspective from a law enforcement point of view. Ross, were you able to see the news conference in Dallas a few moments ago, or are you just now catching up on the whole situation?
No, I listened to the conference as it was taking place.
Can you comment, as Anthony doesn't have his USB hooked up
I
just
missed
yet?
his response. I had to switch my earpiece. He did watch it. Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead, Caitlin. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, what are your first reactions to this? Do you think that it's a scramble going on there right now? Is it panic ensuing amongst the FBI unit and the police department there in Dallas?
No, there's no panic, Caitlin. The shooter apparently committed suicide after the attack. There's no threat to the public right now, and what's going to happen going forward is investigators are going to try and identify this person, determine what his or her motivations were, and more importantly, determine if he or she acted alone or was aided and abetted by someone else.
Okay, one thing that kind of struck or stood out to me watching that, Ross, was that the person from the FBI was able to say publicly that there's early evidence that indicates this was an anti-ICE act of violence. At the same time, there have been all kinds of published reports that at least one of the victims in this shooting was a detainee, presumably an immigrant. By process of elimination, if, like they said, no law enforcement agents were victims of this shooting, can you shed any light into why they wouldn't confirm those reports? There were reporters on the ground asking repeatedly, were any of the victims that were killed or hurt detainees? They refused to answer.
Well, I think they did, Anthony. I think they made a very clear statement, at least from what I heard. The shooter opened fire with a rifle from a distance of a couple hundred yards away, and he was targeting an ICE van that was either entering or leaving the facility.
I'm talking about the victims. You know, they were being asked to confirm whether any of the victims were detainees, and they stopped short of answering that question.
Well, they said that no law enforcement personnel were injured. So I think that kind of by process of elimination, that tells you that it was detainees. And the reason that they apparently attributed the attack as targeting ICE was due to evidence that was found at the crime scene, specifically the area where the shooter committed suicide.
Do you think the next step then is going to be investigating this person that you mentioned that did the shooting?
Absolutely, Caitlin. They're going to be looking into his or her background. What was the motivation? I'm quite confident that there will be some type of social media posting that was put out by this person claiming responsibility for the attack and giving a motive. But what they're really going to be looking for is, was this person encouraged or assisted in any way by someone else to carry this out? And then you would have a conspiracy and additional charges forthcoming.
Right. Okay. The fact that this happened from a nearby rooftop, and we have been watching such tension unfold in Broadview here locally. How do you feel like this incident will have an impact on how these ICE facilities across the country will be impacted?
That's a great question, Anthony. Obviously, the threat matrix is rising, and how do you protect yourself in an urban environment? It's almost impossible to do that. If these threats continue unabated, I have a feeling they're going to rethink the location of their facilities, their detention facilities, and move them to more rural locations, like the one that was open a couple months ago during the summer in Florida, out in the middle of nowhere. That would greatly mitigate the threat risk to both the detainees and ICE personnel, which obviously is the first priority.
As an FBI agent, you mentioned how you expect that there was probably a social media posting about this beforehand. Do you find that this makes it easier to get to the bottom of these situations, or does it make it more difficult, convoluted? And Also, moving forward, do you think that we should be, you know, as a country, watching these posts closer? What's the solution there?
Well, I think, Caitlin, if there was a post, it was going to be issued right before the shooting began. I'm not a social media expert, but I think there's ways that you can enter information, then have it posted at a later date. Obviously, someone that's going to carry out an attack like this isn't going to publicize their intentions in advance because they want to be successful in carrying out the attack. And if you look back at any shooting incident, mass shooting, school shooting that we've had in the last 20 years, the shooters don't put a threat out ahead of time. They just act. And those are the threats that are almost impossible to predict and to prevent from happening, especially if the person is acting alone. They're not seeking assistance from anyone else. They're not broadcasting in advance what they're going to do, making it more of a reactive situation for law enforcement.
How quickly do you see this investigation unfolding, Ross?
Boy, I would say within a week or two, they'll have enough information to go forward. The problem you're going to have, Anthony, from your standpoint, from a media standpoint and the public standpoint, if this guy acted alone, he's deceased, there aren't going to be any criminal charges. So there's not going to be an indictment, there's not going to be a complaint, and it will be up to the investigating authorities to issue a report explaining what their investigation has determined, who was responsible for this, and what his or her motivations were.
Ross, we always appreciate your perspective. Thank you for jumping on with us so quickly.